Sakamoto Days has a plethora of great supporting characters. I mean, the series never fails to throw like 24 anime John Wicks into the story and just let them do their thing. But in Sakamoto Days, there is one assassin who is constantly bringing the best vibes and marksmanship as he backs up our protagonist, and that is Heisuke, yo. Heisuke starts off the series in a similar way to Shin, in that he's after the bounty on Sakamoto, the main difference being that Heisuke is pretty naive, dare I say stupid, and can't even recognize Sakamoto as his hit. This lets us see some of Heisuke's personality outside of his profession. He's an airhead, gullible, and a simpleton, but he also has a pretty good heart despite being an assassin and treats people pretty well. He has a charming way of speaking, adding yo when he's talking, and he's a pretty emotional guy. We see him often with these exaggerated responses to things, mood swings, and he's pretty prone to crying when he's upset. Because of how Heisuke is, when he first shows up at Sakamoto's to kill him, he's pretty easily dealt with. With all Shin and Sakamoto have to do is to tell him that Sakamoto isn't there, that there are lots of Sakamoto locations, and lots of people named Sakamoto, and that's good enough to drive Heisuke off. His absence would be short as we quickly see him again when Shin and Sakamoto join an airsoft tournament to try and win a cash prize. Heisuke, who's currently homeless and broke, is also trying to join the tournament, but you can only enter as a team. He sees Shin and Sakamoto, and after some begging, they hesitantly team up with Heisuke. It takes no time to see that Heisuke is an expert sniper, and the airsoft tournament is going well until a drunk cheerleading Lou straight up tells Heisuke that Sakamoto is the very same legendary hitman Sakamoto with a billion-yen bounty on his head. Heisuke locks in and the short-lived alliance is broken, with the former team now fighting with each other. It's funny because we see how betrayed Heisuke feels. He saw Shin and Sakamoto as friends and comrades and is so visibly upset about the truth. It's another example of Heisuke's personality getting so emotional with people he just met that them lying to him is taken as such a personal betrayal. It's in this fight that we see just how good Heisuke is as a sniper. He can ricochet shots multiple times with extreme accuracy, and Sakamoto and Shin instantly realize that Heisuke is a top class sniper that they will have to take seriously. Heisuke obviously fights at a distance being a sniper, but what adds another level to his abilities is his pet bird Pisuke, who acts as aerial support, giving away enemy positions to Heisuke. Pisuke, along with Heisuke's ability to ricochet shots with extreme accuracy, is really what sets him up as such a deadly assassin and sniper. Ultimately, Shin and Sakamoto are able to pinpoint Heisuke's position and disarm him, and by Sakamoto family rules, they only beat Heisuke up for trying to kill them, even giving him a share of the airsoft prize money. Sakamoto pays Heisuke a compliment, saying he's never gone up against such an incredible sniper in his life. It's important to note Sakamoto's choice of words. He doesn't say Heisuke is the greatest sniper he's seen in his life, but the best he has personally fought against. After the airsoft tournament, Heisuke would be on good terms with the Sakamotos, but wouldn't be overly involved in the story until the Bangkok arc, where Heisuke would accompany Shin and Sakamoto to raid Slur's warehouse. Of course, things get off to a bad start as Heisuke's luggage goes missing in the airport, leaving him without his sniper rifle. Heisuke stays behind to find his bag, and this is where he meets Hyo, a member of the Order who Heisuke mistakes as having taken his bag. It's pretty crazy the amount of Order members that Heisuke has ended up befriending in the series so far. Obviously there's Sakamoto, now Hyo, and later one more Order member. I think it speaks volume to Heisuke as a person to make a positive impression on so many of the strongest assassins in Sakamoto Days. After Hyo's and Heisuke's misunderstanding in the airport, Hyo, the softie he is, decides to help Heisuke find his bag as he feels sympathy for Heisuke, wanting to help his friend. Now, something I love about Sakamoto Days is the world doesn't revolve around Sakamoto and Shin. We can be introduced to new characters through supporting characters like Heisuke, and generally just as many important fights and events are happening outside of Sakamoto and Shin's lives and their direct involvement. So it's here in Thailand that we see Hyo introduced as a character. He's an Order member, meaning he's one of the top assassins in Japan, but he's also a giant softie despite his scary and intimidating appearance. A fairly common trope, but very nice to see when done well. Heisuke and Hyo find out that the bag isn't lost and was stolen, and after running into the thief, they give chase, quickly finding out that he's an assassin himself. While pursuing the thief, Heisuke constantly does a terrible job of stopping the target, irritating Hyo, but Hyo actually respects Heisuke's resolve, and we find out that Hyo also really relates to Heisuke. The two of them never had much talent as assassins to begin with, Heisuke only being able to snipe and Hyo having to work so much harder than everyone around him to get to the level to join the Order. Heisuke reminds Hyo of himself, and it's endearing to him. Heisuke eventually catches the thief, and before some pipes fall on him, Heisuke is able to pull out his rifle and shoot away all the pipes, saving the life of the guy who had just stolen from him. It's in this moment that Hyo recognizes how much work Heisuke has put in to become such a good marksman, and Hyo tells Heisuke that he really likes him. Leaving such a good impression on an Order member is an impressive feat, but it's short-lived as one of Slur's top assassins, Kumanomi, makes her appearance, crushing the thief and killing him. This was an ambush set up to target Hyo, and Heisuke had just been involved in it by mistake. The fight quickly begins as Kumanomi moves extremely quick, being very difficult to react to. Add in her ace electromagnet glove that allows her to push, pull, and control metal with extreme force, making her one of the strongest characters in the verse so far, with incredible offense, defense, and mobility. Kumanomi attacks quickly and rips off Hyo's ear with her electromagnet glove, and we see just how strong she is. Despite not doing a ton of damage initially to Hyo, she's able to get off a number of attacks that are unanswered, throwing Hyo around like a ragdoll and leaving Heisuke as a complete bystander to the fight. Of course, after eating a number of Kumanomi's attacks, Hyo feels as though he has a good read on her moves and starts counterattacking, showing off his extreme physical strength. The only problem is that the location of the fight favors Kumanomi. Not only is the city full of metal to manipulate, but Hyo also tanks hits on purpose to protect civilians, hindering his ability to fight and invade. Hyo does this because at his core, he's a good guy. Kumanomi even says he's completely incompatible with being an assassin, let alone a member of the Order. After taking even more hits to protect civilians, Hyo resigns himself to his fate and is ready to die, until Heisuke clutches up and blocks the coil gun shot from hitting Hyo. With Heisuke as backup, it's now a 2v1 and the fight's back on. Heisuke quickly establishes himself in the fight, hitting Kumanomi's coil gun before she can even fire it off, which ends up pissing off Hyo and Kumanomi. After all, Heisuke could have just gone for a headshot and ended the fight, but per Sakamoto family rules, Heisuke is determined to win the fight without killing. This is important. The reason I've been going over this fight is because it's important to show off how far Heisuke has gone in turning around his life as an assassin to a life with more value, a life determined to protect his friends and not just kill people. And when you really get down to it, when Heisuke and Hyo come together, they make an insane team with some of the best long-range and close-range combatants who have the personality to really look out for one another. The fight really starts to go in Heisuke and Hyo's way, and with their teamwork, they're finally able to land a decisive blow on Kumanomi, knocking her out. Unfortunately, Kumanomi is only unconscious for a moment until she's able to get off an unexpected coil gun that Hyo selflessly tanks to protect Heisuke. That shot ends up going through Hyo's brain, but before Hyo dies, he lands another powerful blow on Kumanomi, sending her into the ocean, and diving in to make sure the job is finished, receiving more fatal hits in the form of boat propellers, but not letting his grip slip even after dying. Unfortunately, Kumanomi is able to escape death at the cost of her right arm. This is definitely one of the best and most intense fights in Sakamoto days, and Heisuke is at the center of it, showing off his marksmanship, but also the type of man he has become. Considerate, loyal, and brave. Heisuke being able to keep up and impress one of Slur's top combatants and a member of the Order is a huge feat, and would establish himself as someone who could become one of the tougher characters in the series, but also one of the kindest and most charismatic. Heisuke would continue to play a large role in Sakamoto days after the Bangkok arc, but unfortunately his fight in Thailand would leave him rattled. Feeling terrible about what happened to Hyo and bystanders in the fight would leave a terrible mental strain on Heisuke, and when he got back to Japan, his marksmanship had gone terrible. Of course, this isn't the most relevant thing in the moment, as when Heisuke is out doing target practice, he is kidnapped by 4 members of the Order, looking for information about Slur. Heisuke apologizes about what happened to Hyo, feeling responsible, but the Order assure him that Hyo died because he was weak, and that someone as insignificant as Heisuke couldn't have any effect on the outcome of a fight with the Order. They also tell Heisuke that it's not right to feel bad about death when your profession is to be an assassin. Ultimately, Heisuke is let free after Sakamoto negotiates information for his freedom. It wouldn't take long for Heisuke to run back into one of the members of the Order involved with his kidnapping though, as soon after when Sakamoto and crew are bidding for a ticket to the art exhibition that Slur will be attacking soon. They are attacked themselves by the Order's sniper Kamihate, the best sniper in JAA history according to Sakamoto. At the moment, it's not known exactly why Kamihate is attacking, but Heisuke shows up to protect Sakamoto and is quick to ask Sakamoto and Shin to allow him to take this fight on alone. Heisuke feels like this is an important obstacle to take on alone, to remain a respectable sniper. Sakamoto respects Heisuke's request, but he does give Heisuke a special bulletproof vest. What follows suit is one of the best fights so far in this series, maybe the best if we're being honest. The fight between Heisuke and Kamihate is essentially a 1v1 on Rust on steroids. It encapsulates all the elements that make these over-the-top fights in Sakamoto Days so amazing. The ridiculous, intense, and creative action that makes the fights in Sakamoto Days so good. The creativity in how these two fight and use their surroundings and their weapons is incredible. The amount of aura these two exert and how they take turns turning the tables on one another makes this fight so much fun to experience. And the way their personalities are on full display throughout the fight makes this duel so damn good. It's a long fight that doesn't feel dragged out at all. It's long because the back and forth is so well written and executed. The fight begins with Heisuke wanting to find Kamihate's location, so he leaves himself open for an attack, jumping at just the right time to have his bulletproof vest eat a shot, knowing that Kamihate's pride, as the best sniper, would have him go for a headshot. This fight isn't just going to be about accuracy and strength, it's also a mental fight of needing to read and anticipate your opponent's moves and gather intelligence on their location. After that, Kamihate is forced to move his sniper position and retaliates by shooting a crane down, only to snipe a sign into it, turning it into a pendulum to strike Heisuke. Immediately after being struck, Heisuke shoots off a mid-air ricochet shot that misses Kamihate by about a foot. Kamihate, feeling a need to show off and rub his own ego, fires a shot at a motorcycle, destroying it while ricocheting his bullet off its spinning wheel, changing the bullet's direction to land a direct hit on Heisuke. This is what I'm talking about. Sakamoto Days has some of the most creative and ridiculous action in shonen. No magic superpowers, just the most fun bullshit that recognizes it's still fiction even if it's set in the real world with real powers. Heisuke understands that Kamihate can control an entire area with just a single bullet, and questions whether he can actually beat someone this good. Meanwhile, Sakamoto and gang are trying to figure out why Kamihate is attacking. The idea that he isn't trying to kill Sakamoto but rather stop him from infiltrating the assassination exhibit comes up, but Shin gets into a position to read Kamihate's mind, and we get a full backstory on why Kamihate is trying to stop them. The story is about how Kamihate got a sniping record 9 years ago for killing a man called John Piachi, a painter and an assassin. He was 8 kilometers away when Kamihate killed him, putting him in the Guinness World Record book. Before Kamihate took his shot, he did see Sakamoto was also trying to kill the target, but a year ago from the present, when Kamihate saw a news article for the Assassins of the Century exhibit and saw that the painting he shot through to kill John was going to be displayed, he of course went to see it, and when he saw the painting, he knew that Sakamoto was the one who killed John, as the blood was splattered all over the painting in the direction of Kamihate, meaning Sakamoto was the one whose shot killed John. Now, in the present, Kamihate is desperately trying to prevent Sakamoto from seeing the painting, assuming he cares about the record and credit for the kill, another example to show off Kamihate's crazy pride and ego. Going back to the fight, Kamihate shoots another insane shot, grazing a steering wheel of a car to turn it into Heisuke's direction and crashing into him. These insane trick shots are just so creative and fun, and turns this 1v1 sniper showdown between these two into such a unique anime fight. I haven't mentioned this yet, but Kamihate is a shut-in. The other Order members have never seen his face, and it's really funny, as whenever we get a shot of him, it's just the barrel of his sniper. Even on his volume cover, it's his sniper's barrel on display. Even his speech bubbles make it seem like he's a talking gun a lot of the time. It's a funny quirk, but Kamihate being a shut-in is important, as he believes trusting and depending on others makes you weak, and that within solitude resides perfect strength. As Heisuke is trying to find the right angle to shoot Kamihate, a bullet is flying right towards him, and he figures out how to get a good shot on his target. For the second time this fight, Heisuke tanks another shot from Kamihate, this time going right into his scope, but Heisuke uses this as an opportunity to get a shot off in Kamihate's direction, following the path his bullet took to return one of his own, finally landing a shot on Kamihate and destroying his scope in return. The fight continues, Kamihate shooting tons of shots at Heisuke while also closing the distance between the two. Heisuke is able to get off an unpredictable curved shot by swinging his rifle with one hand, which is so stupid but also really cool and really in line with this ridiculous fight. Both Kamihate and Heisuke take a hit to the chest and fall down to the street, separated by a railway crossing. They both collect themselves and take a shot as a train passes by, shooting through the train. Heisuke takes a second bullet that his vest cannot stop, and right after, he's at gunpoint by Kamihate, who had gone around him. Kamihate starts to lecture Heisuke, and this is where Heisuke reminds him about ricochet shots. Kamihate is caught off guard, expecting an impossible trick shot coming back at him. But Heisuke was just bluffing and quickly turns around to fire a point-blank shot at Kamihate. The shot is dodged, but Heisuke ends up seeing Kamihate's face, which sends him into a fit. His pride as a sniper and his troubles of being a shut-in cause Kamihate to turn his gun on himself, but before he pulls the trigger, he freaks out once again, angry that Heisuke isn't trying to stop him. He demands Heisuke to try and cheer him up. Heisuke thanks Kamihate for helping him in this fight to get back his mojo as a sniper, and makes the stupid assumption that Kamihate was doing this from the start for his sake. And of course, Kamihate goes along with this. Heisuke is happy and comments on how him and Kamihate could be friends, which has Kamihate imagine the fun things a couple of snipers could do together. It's here that Sakamoto and Shin show up to clear up the confusion on the assassination exhibit. This upsets Kamihate that Sakamoto has no interest in his record, and he tells Heisuke to get out of here with him, which Heisuke cheerfully declines, prioritizing Sakamoto's current mission and saying that he'll hang out with Kamihate sometime soon. Which pisses Kamihate off, obviously, because of how big his ego is. And with that, Kamihate storms off. That ends the fight between Kamihate and Heisuke. Definitely one of the best fights in Sakamoto days because of its creativity and flair, constantly leaning into the strong points of the series, that being the action and comedy, while serving as a perfect chance to develop and grow Heisuke as a character, and a perfect introduction to Kamihate, with us being able to see his twisted personality and his skills as a sniper. But unfortunately, the thing we don't see is his face. I love how they tease Kamihate and Heisuke being friends at the end of their fight. The visuals of two rifle barrels hanging out is funny, especially when the characterization of Kamihate being limited to the end of his gun. But I also like the fact that it's a nod to the fact that snipers typically operate as groups. After this, Heisuke wouldn't really be involved with the assassination exhibition arc, and would later return to the series right after, training with Shin with Sakamoto's old mentor. But with limited improvements being made, Shin is instructed that he might be able to improve his ESP abilities by Nagumo and Kindaka. They let Shin know that the JAA have a fortune teller being kept in the JAA jail. Shin and Heisuke decide that they will infiltrate the jail by turning themselves in to find the fortune teller in hopes that they'll be able to teach Shin how to improve his ESP abilities. This takes us up to where the manga is currently at, and I gotta say Heisuke is quite the bro, willing to go to jail to help back up his friends. Heisuke and Shin turn themselves in without permission from Sakamoto, and this is the first major arc that will feature them teaming up together by themselves, which is a nice change of pace, and a nice place to leave off this video. I mean, we've seen how much Heisuke has grown throughout Sakamoto days as a supporting character. Him and Shin being able to go off on their own despite the odds being against them, and Heisuke in particular has grown so much from his fights with Hyo and Kamihate, being able to leave an impression on both order members despite being told that he was insignificant by Shishiba. Heisuke has proven himself to 3 order members in Sakamoto, Hyo, and Kamihate, while solidifying his good character as a loyal friend throughout the series. I think Heisuke is a great supporting character. He's a good friend to the main characters and grows alongside them, while also having his fair share of time to shine himself. He's a loyal and kind badass who's been involved with some of the best fights in the series so far. And that's pretty much everything about Heisuke and Sakamoto days so far. Thanks for watching the video, guys.